Hair's going everywhere these days. Anyway, this is Cassandra Williamson with The Path Forward coming to you from Pike County, Kentucky, way up in a holler over near Belfry, which is along the West Virginia border. Happens to be it's a beautiful place around here. It really is a tremendously awesome place to have grown up. It was the $1 billion coal field back in the day when I was here as a child. And that industry had been here for about 100 years, roughly, maybe a little bit more. Yeah, probably a little bit more than that. But it has since kind of gone the way of the dodo bird. There's not too many businesses left in the area who are doing that kind of work. But the biggest industry here is what attracts a large number of people to come in here from around the country, and that would be ATVs and UTV trails and stuff with the Hatfield-McCoy Feud Trail System in Kentucky and West Virginia along the border of the two states. So that's been the big thing that draws people to this area, is the fact that, there are a lot of trails around here, a lot of cabins built up, and people are renting cabins out year in advance, year and a half in advance, whatever, and tying them up for a while. And I mean, this is the place if you want to go do some exploring in the woods on your ATV, all kinds of places to come in and check out. Downtown Williamson, West Virginia, which is the county seat for Mingo County, West Virginia. There are things down there you can do. It's mostly a bar town, lawyers and courthouse. And the town is in need of work. I've threatened that since it's got my name on it, it was family at one point a long time ago. Some distant relatives of mine were actually the founders of that town, but it turns out that they've let it go to crap. There are roads that need to be fixed in that place, and really it's kind of disgusting to me to see that. But then across the river, the buildup has occurred that a friend of mine from a long time ago had projected would occur. So a lot of the business activities taking place across the river in Kentucky. Which is funny. Anyway, I was born there and grew up in Kentucky, but I was born in West Virginia, Williams. So anyway, there's quite a few things we need to be talking about. I just wanted to throw that out about the city of Williamson and the ATV trails around here. If you're looking for a place to get away from the things of the hustle and bustle of life, come here, check it out. And no, they aren't paying me for this. It's just that I'm trying to drag in some more travel and people into the area and get some more experiences around here. That's just trying to help my place out, okay? All right, so been a lot happening this week that I've been wanting to talk about and that I've talked about incessantly all day long and talked about it for quite a while now, kind of warning people of what was coming. Well, it turns out that the 988 suicide prevention phone number I thought was going to be defunded on October the 1st, and that's what it looked like it was going to do. They were going to do. Well, they've moved it up a notch. They made an announcement during Pride Month, of all places, of course. And if you don't know why they picked Pride Month to make these announcements, then you haven't been paying attention. But there is an obvious reason why they chose to announce this month that they're closing the LGBT option on the 988 call system, the option 3. If you're an LGBT youth under age 25, you have 30 days. And I hope and pray that no one actually harms themselves between now and then, or after that, for that matter. That system was created by the first term President Trump, set into motion, enabled in September of 2022. It has taken care of and addressed issues about 1.3 million LGBT Americans, youth under the age of 25, and it's been there and it's done a great thing. It's helped. It's saved lives. And why is it necessary to, someone asked me, why is it necessary that we have a special thing for this special group? Because the special thing for this special group is tailored to them and their needs, and the people are familiar with them and their lives. They understand them. They're not just somebody stuck on the other end of the line who is just going to say, well, you need to stop doing that right there, because, that's not how it's supposed to work. Look, if you know that a certain group of people has a high incidence of suicide and suicide ideation, then you tailor your message to go for them to help save their lives. All right. Why do you think we have one that was tailored specifically for veterans? Anybody? Yeah. There is a system. It's in the 988 system. It's called option 1. That is for veterans. Why? I mean, the people are asking me, why do you have to have separate things? So tell me something. Why do you think you have to have one for veterans then? Anybody got an idea? Well, I'll tell you why. Because you need people on the other end of that line who have some knowledge of what it was like to be a veteran and to have served in our military, to be familiar with the language and the terminology and the things that you might be going through. You need people with those kind of experiences to help the veterans get through their crises. But don't let this administration just make you think that it's just going after option 3 for the LGBT people in the country, some of whom are veterans, by the way. So, no, they've actually cut staffing for the veterans resource group on that side of option 1 and 988 as well. This administration doesn't care about, if you're a veteran and you got wounded or you got hurt or something happened to you while you were in the military, the VA takes care of you. But right now, this group in power don't care about that. They see those veterans who have gotten harmed, gotten captured, anything like that, or killed in service as being, suckers and losers. And that's not from me. That's from the man in charge, folks. And don't tell me he didn't say it. He did say it. We already know he said it. So they're going after the 988 system that saves lives in the name of trying to save money. Now you tell me, if one veteran's life is saved out of the 17.4, that's about 16.4 veterans who kill themselves each day, if one veteran's life is saved, how much money is that worth? How much money is it worth to save your child who may be calling in as a gay person, calling in to 988 option 3 for LGBT people? And I'm going to have to go. You hear an alarm going in the background. I'm going to pause this for a second, come back. That means I have to go take care of some family real quick. I'll be back. Hang on. All right, everyone. Sorry about that. My mom needed some help. She was sweating and profusely. Last couple of days she's been doing that. It's turned out to be low blood sugar, but this time it was not. She was just getting hot, and so had to increase the coolness a little bit in the room. Give her a cool wash rag, make sure she's all right. So yes, now there's a lot going on in the country today, and we have to be able to move forward in this environment. And that's kind of difficult to do sometimes. I get it. I mean, you had Will Kane today on the Will Kane show, which comes on just before the 5 on Fox News, on Fox. Well, they went through in detail the Supreme Court ruling that allowed Tennessee to discriminate against transgender youth. Went through it. I sent a message to Will Kane saying, hey, look, if you want a countering opinion on that thing, here I am. If you think your program is actually fair and balanced, well, here I am. I'll come and talk with you if you want. Then he brought on some detransitioner who, now let me just say something about detransitioners. They're entitled to go through their journey as they see fit. The difficulty arises when other people ascribe class behavior because of the comments made by that person who has detransitioned. That's their journey, but it doesn't apply to the rest of the people in the community. But it's being used to legitimize attacks against the whole class of transgender Americans. This administration has already put a huge bullseye on transgender people in this country. All you have to do is just look and see what they've done. I mean, it was during the first part of Pride Month when they started kicking out, actually forced out transgender active duty military people out of the military for no reason, no good reason. There's no rational reason for it. These people were highly qualified, skilled, trained, knowledgeable, and proficient leaders and warfighters. But yet, the only reason they kicked them out was because they don't understand them. They don't want them around. They can't stand to see a trans person, or even more expressively, just an LGBT person around them. They don't want them around. They would like for you, if you're in that community, to disappear from the public square, not be seen, heard, or have any word or anything coming out of you or toward them at all, any kind of thing. So they don't want you there. And then for the Supreme Court to say that it's all right to discriminate against this group of transgender youth in Tennessee because it doesn't rise to the highest threshold of scrutiny, because this is a class that wasn't defined in the law as being a distinct class of people. It was just based on age and medical treatment. Well, see, Tennessee learned that lesson from these people who are trying to push all kinds of radical ideas across the whole country and changing laws that affect civil rights. That's where it's coming from. They're after them in a big way. And so what's happening is they now know how to get things through the Supreme Court. All you have to do is convince them that this is not something that attacks a specific higher scrutiny level of evaluation of that particular case before the courts. So whatever comes of that, all you have to do is say, no, it didn't pass that high bar. Therefore, they weren't talking about that particular class of people, and that class of people was not defined in the bill anyway, or in the law anyway, so therefore they can go ahead and actually carry out their law. And that's what the 6-3 majority said on the Supreme Court. It's an open license to discriminate against a whole class of Americans simply because this administration does not like them. I just told you what was going on. They're going after all the trans people and everything across the whole of the federal enterprise. They won't stop there. With this kids thing, the youth thing in Tennessee, that will be brought up as they go along and attack more and more and more people of all ages, of all skills, all levels across society who are trans. And then they won't stop there. They'll go after the LGBT people. it's so easy to see how these people think. They lay this little bit out here to grab a little bit of attention, and they tie it to the kids, and they say, this is the issue. We've got to save the kids. We've got to save the kids. Next year, they go up and raise the age up to, I don't know, 12th grade, let's say, high school. And then the next year, they go after the college kids. And the next year after that, they go stripping away the care for the health care access in Medicare, Medicaid, for no gender affirming care or LGBT care. It's coming. It's coming. This whole thing is based on the premise of cruelty. Why do you think they make these statements during Pride Month of all times? It wasn't coincidental. It was deliberate. All these things, all this stuff. Fox News has been hounding up trans people for the past 2 or 3 years, building up this narrative in the community across the country of this image of the drag queen transgender person looking thing out there. And we don't do that. That's not us, folks. We are not that. That's performative. We aren't performing anything. We're just living. The same with a gay person or a lesbian or a bisexual person. They're just wanting to live their lives. But granted, yes, granted, many times we put the bullseye on ourselves and walk out there and say, look at me, I don't have anything on, walking down the street in a leather thong in a parade. Sometimes even with a dog mask and a leash on. You really think that that's going to help us? You got nothing coming there too. We need to police our own, but at the same time, we've got to stand up for our rights to be able to live our lives the way we know we should be living it. I know that I served for every person in this country, regardless of whether I like you or not. I serve for your right to hate me even. That's fine. I'd love to talk to you about that. I mean, I'm pretty comfortable with talking about all kinds of stuff. I mean, I'm not running away from any facts or any of the science or any reality. I know who I am, and I really, really, really would love to have a conversation with somebody who disagrees with that, who thinks that I shouldn't be able to live my life taking care of my mom and brother and sister and cousin. People don't understand that. But then it's also something in this own community, this community that I'm part of. We do some crazy things sometimes, don't we? Yep. The drag queens have no business reading to kids in the library. There, I said it. I told you back when I first started this series, I'd say some things that probably disappoint a lot of people. But that's fine. Drag queens dressed up in the gaudiest looking thing possible. It's a performative effort, exercise. It's art. Yes, it is. But there's some art I wouldn't take my kids to when they were little. Yeah, there was some art that I did not want them to see when they were little. Same thing with drag queens decked out in whatever their one-piece bathing suits and nothing else on, basically. Bunch of padding and things. But that's performative. That's not who I am. And that's not who we are. They claim to be part of the community, but that's fine. You can do that. That's perfectly legit. However, don't bring ill repute on all of us because of something that you're doing. That goes with anyone in the community. I mean, if you go into the bathroom, into a women's bathroom, and you've got your full beard on, and you claim to be a woman, and you go in there and you start shaving and all this kind of crap, I will absolutely fly off the handle on you. That disrespects that space. That disrespects the women who go there, the genetic women, and even women such as myself. It disrespects them. So we've got to put a stop to our own problems in our own community. But at the same time, We've got the cruelty that's coming out over here from the Trump administration. I mean, it's just replete with this kind of cruelty. Most of America doesn't see it. I talked to my cousin about it today, and she and I were talking. I said, look, this is really disturbing to me that 988, the number for suicide prevention, option 3 for LGBT people, that they're going to cancel the program. And it didn't seem to faze her on that part of it. It didn't seem to have an impact because, and I know this is true in a broad way, and that's the way it's intended to be when you start listening to some things from certain news channels, or even if you don't, and you just happen to agree with some of these things, and that's fine. You can do whatever you need. But the thing that gets me is they're doing these things in plain sight, right in front of our eyes, and yet the connections are being obscured by all kinds of other stuff taking place off in the periphery out here. And so the focus is and has always been over here when the real problem is right in your face. The cruelty that comes out of this administration is off the scale. And I'm going to go and check on my mom again. So y'all have a great evening. Come back tomorrow. I'll just try to keep on going with it. Bye for now.